Welcome back, friends. Michael Butler here, Beyond Publishing, Books on the Beach, and Influencer Radio. We're very blessed to have one of the premier sales legends in the world, Ben Gay III. Ben, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. You sold over 5 million copies of The Closer's book #1. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you, sir. I'm doing fine. I hope you're having a good holiday with your family and getting ready to have the Christmas season.
You know what I love about this show, Ben? We interview influencers from all over the world, and you've been around some amazing influencers. You've worked for them. You ran some of the largest sales organizations in the world with the likes of Dr. Napoleon Hill, Earl, Nightingale, the infamous Ziglar. How important is sales to the millennial just getting out of college and going into the workforce? Maybe they think they're going to be a copywriter or an accountant or a pencil pusher. How important is sales and marketing?
Well, it doesn't make any difference what they're going to be. They're going to have to sell that concept and or themselves. So everybody's in selling. I know that's trite, but it's really true. Everybody is in selling. Things that I learned from J. Douglas Edwards and Zig. Zig and I started making big money on the same day in the same meeting when we joined a company called Holiday Magic Cosmetics, September 15th, 1965. He was just a cookware salesman from Columbia, South Carolina, 18 years older than I. And then because of speaking in the church, he was much better than I was. So I had to play catch up. But the good news is, 2 years later, I was president of the company. Zig was working for me, and I beat him in a national sales contest. So, and to the day,
top sales guy at every company you've worked in or that you've started. How have you figured this out? You said Zig was better. He had a head start at speaking, and we can talk a little bit about improving your speaking skills to hone your craft and nailing the soundbite and being a good on-stage interviewer. Give us kind of some of the nuts and bolts you would give a young person in their 20s saddled with college debt. You know, we're seeing an opportunity now with the economy where a young person with technology are starting companies like Facebook. They're starting companies like Instagram. They're becoming overnight billionaires. How could you have even leveraged the success that you've experienced more so with the internet? What are the nuts and bolts things, some of those soft skills and hard skills that you can actually teach a young person to succeed in any industry, in any continent, any country?
Well, selling hasn't changed. If we had had Facebook, LinkedIn, social media of any kind back when Zig and I and Napoleon Hill and gang were working together, I'd be the benevolent dictator of the planet now. We went from zero, the company just barely gotten started when I joined it. We went from zero to $1 million a day in cash, and that in today's money would be $10 million a day, 365 days a year. And keep in mind, we were approaching people face to face.
No computers, no internet. You were meeting them in their homes, door to door.
Right. And driving to pick them up to take them to the meeting, and then closing them face to face from the front of the room to a certain degree, but the final sale was made sitting at a table drawing circles.
How do you establish trust with somebody that, I mean, you're doing the equivalent of $10 million a day in direct sales. Most of my listeners know the model, embrace the model, believe in the model. They know how legit it is. They know that there's more entrepreneurs in North America than there are people that have a job working for an employee and an employer. And so they get it. And really, they want to succeed in it. I think there's so many people now in the Facebook world, Ben, that have so many friends and family hitting them with the latest flavor of not the flavor of the week, but the flavor of the day, right? The flavor of the hour. They're getting bombarded where they had to just say, look, no more direct sales. But they know the model works. They look at somebody like you that's done it and they say, wow, you did it without the internet. How can you establish trust with the internet where you can't even maybe physically meet somebody, at least with the book, at least with an author, at least where you're sitting down to lunch or going to a meeting, you can talk to them. How do you establish trust? How important is trust in the sales cycle? How did you use it to create billions of dollars and create a lot of millionaires?
Well, while you're holding up books, let me hold up one. This is the Closers Part 2. Part 1 is the kicks, the blocks, and the punches of selling. Selling the way it really is, not the way we wish it was. Closers Part 2 picks up where 1 leaves off and shows you what sophisticated people really do with that information. I said all that to get to the answer to your question. The last chapter in the Closers Part 2 is called Sales Infiltration. It starts on page 257, and I explain there exactly what a master closer is, does, and how to be one precisely. And then you can say, well, that's just face-to-face. No, it's face-to-face, it's telephone, it's over the internet, although the internet wasn't what it is now when I wrote that chapter. The fact is that's what master closers do. So you just have to, whether I'm copywriting, ghostwriting a book for somebody, no matter what I'm doing, I use it's always around selling, personal development of some kind. The concept I use is right there in that chapter. It's the best thing I've ever written. I frankly think it's the best thing ever written about selling. Sales infiltration.
I tell you what, I'm going to be recommending it in 2018 because I think that's the thing. And I met you speaking at an event at a conference where several of my authors were speaking, and I know that you believe in it because your first order on book 1 was 30,000 quantity, and you quickly sold out of those, all direct salespeople. In teaching them and helping them acquire the skills necessary to succeed in business and in life. We just had the world's youngest motivational speaker. He's 9.
I saw it.
John Humphreys. His book. We actually launched his book on the 5th year anniversary of Zig's passing, and I sent Tom a autographed copy of the hard copy, and he went #1 on Amazon 89 days before he launched. And so I think there's something very powerful in taking your principles of trust in selling and listening and selling and closing, because you've really perfected the art of closing. So maybe give me an idea, because I know you're very active now on social media. Before, when I got started in business, there was no internet, there was no email. More so for yourself, how have you taken the skills pre-internet? And now I see you many times. I'll share a new author online and you're congratulating them and encouraging them. And I need to follow up behind, because sometimes you're too modest and just say, Ben Gay there, the guy that just shared your post, has sold over 5 million books. What would you say to somebody that says, wow, I love this new life, let's go get rich and blast our friends on Facebook and retire tomorrow? What would you say?
Lots of luck. Lots of luck. One of the advantages we had when I was with Holiday Magic, which for your viewers and listeners, many of them are too young to know what it was, but it was the largest MLM direct sales company on the planet, bigger than Amway and Shackley combined at the time. And the only reason it isn't the Amway of today and Amway isn't a tag-along is that the owner of the company, William Penn, great guy, one of my mentors, when he went up against the federal government, he said, I'll never compromise, I'll never do anything. And they wound up driving him slowly out of business. He died in a plane crash, but the end was coming anyway. Rich and Jay, meanwhile, over at Amway, listened to what the government had to say and said, well, how about this? How about this? Negotiated a settlement, and they're still in business.
Compliance.
Oh, I'm telling you, when I was young and bulletproof, I was right there with Bill Patrick. Yeah, let's fight them. Let's, well, I have since learned over the years, you don't fight the government. You can negotiate with them.
You don't fight Facebook either, because they will censor you if you say the wrong thing. Then they'll just push your post to the very bottom. So
right.
Facebook has become bigger than the federal government with 2 billion. It's amazing, Ben. I'll just throw this little pitch in there for people that don't realize how huge and powerful Facebook is. You have major governments that are in bed with Facebook that are asking Facebook to help them win elections and do other things. So it took Facebook 11 years to reach 1 billion users. And in that 12th year, they doubled with 2 billion users. And so if we want to, just like your peers learned how to, some of your peers learned how to comply, some of them didn't with the federal government. It's the same way with Facebook. Love them or hate them. Same way with Amazon. Love them or hate them. They're going to be around a long time. You've got to learn
Right.
how to comply. You can have the love-hate relationship. In our respective Facebook circles and groups, we share the keys, the nuts and bolts, the ins and outs. And your book on closers, I tell you, it's just phenomenal. You've sold over 5 million copies. Give us a little insider tip. One of your favorite chapters in the book, one of your favorite pages and takeaways, or one of your favorite stories from the book that could help somebody and encourage somebody. Tell us how to find you. Tell us how to get the book right here going into 2018, Ben.
Well, let me give you two ways. One is my website. Love to have them sign up there. Won't badger you, but a little drop-down box comes down. Put in your name and email address. I think it asks for more, but just name
Great
and
stuff,
email.
by the way.
Beg your pardon?
Great stuff on your site, by the way.
Well, thank you. Anyway, that site is bfg3.com. B as in Ben, F as in Frank, G as in gay, the numeral 3.com. And you can get the books there and order them and so on. But for your listeners, I will get you, you met Gigi before we went on the air. Gigi has a little scam going. She sells my stuff on eBay. And here's how you get it on eBay. Stores, STORES eBay.com/Ronzoni Books, RONZONE Books. And the reason I say it's a scam, people say, how can she sell your books for less than you do? And I say, well, I have to pay for mine. I pay the printer for the book. She sneaks in the warehouse and steals what she needs, and no one is going to say to her, Mrs. Gay, you have to pay for those. She just takes what she wants.
Right there, I'm telling
you. She takes what she wants.
And I'm including the link in the podcast description so everybody can click on it and go direct.
Okay. Well, when they click on it and go direct, all the material is there and at a discounted price with free shipping. So it actually costs you a little bit to do business with me. And
you've got tons of content. How does being the king or queen of content factor into becoming a bestseller and being the best closer? Because I know you're great at, you're about to close a big deal and they've got a question. You've got the exact testimonial. You've got the exact rebuttal for them at the right time. That's how you've been the world's #1 closer all these years. You've had the largest sales success really in the world, particularly here in North America. How have you leveraged content and been the king of content, but also been able to categorize the content to be able to pull out the correct content at a moment's notice to close the deal?
Well, as you know, Hal Holbrook, who does Mark Twain, is one of my heroes. He memorized 9.5 hours of Mark Twain material, word for word. He walks on stage. He gives a 2-hour performance with an intermission, so he doesn't really work 2 hours. He walks on stage, he tells the same opening story as Mark Twain every time. And he gets a laugh, and depending on the laugh and whether he sees backslapping going on or whatever, that determines when he reaches back into the library and pulls out the next story, which one he pulls out from his 9.5 hour material. What I've done is I got really serious about selling early on. I put up friends and I, and borrowed money, put up more money than we had to get into Holiday Magic, and about $50,000 in today's money. It was $5,000 then. But so I had no choice. I had to succeed, and I quickly figured out I wasn't succeeding because I had believed that, like Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman, you keep your shoes shined and you have a good handshake, and that's all you need. I was voted wittiest in my high school class senior year. I mean, Ben Gay, wittiest. That's all you need. Shoe shine, handshake, and be witty. And I quickly figured out that wasn't bringing home the money. I had to learn selling, take it serious, learn the scripts. We had a 47-minute word-for-word opportunity meeting script. At the end of it, the films, which you also showed that figured into the hour, said, turn to the person who brought you here and ask how you can get started in Holiday Magic. Lights came on. You turned to your prospect. You got out your legal pad and started drawing circles, but it was all scripted, 6 closes. If the first one worked, great. If not, you went to the second one, blah, blah, blah. 6 word for word closes. So I slowly figured out, and then when I became president of the company, I redid the scripts, made them better, and had a significant increase in selling. But a good presentation track to run on was a huge help. So I become the Hal Holbrook of selling. If you come up with an objection or a story or a question, prospects don't all go to prospect school. They don't all know what they're supposed to say in
That's an
response.
amazing point right there. I want to interject. My mentor taught me that personalities are not duplicable, but systems are. You learned a system. It worked for you. It made you millions. It helped you bring millions into the companies. And then you taught that. So it didn't matter if somebody stuttered, if somebody had a third grade education, if somebody didn't have English as their first language. Like me, I stuttered as a child and had to overcome that. For 6 years. I could hardly talk. And it was one of the things I had to overcome. So you taught a system. Are you saying it's best for a speaker, an author, a salesperson now to have a duplicable system or a process in place over just from the hip?
Absolutely. If it was personality only, Zig would have won that contest and he would have been president of the company. I had a system. Zig was Zig. You know, he was a 1 in a million personality, and he walked on stage and they were laughing rather quickly and so on. Zig, here's a little secret about Zig. I say I beat him. I actually beat him with I had a partner too, Jimmy Rucker. I beat Zig and a guy named Mel Lanius. Mel was the closer in the Ziglar organization. Zig was the front man, the funny guy, everybody loved him and so on, but I don't remember seeing him close much of anything. That sheer personality wouldn't do. Well, I have a pretty nice personality, but it doesn't rival Zig's. I had to learn, I had to get good quickly. And I now have, start to say I'm the Hal Holbrook of selling. I've got, I don't know how many hours, but 9, 10, 15 hours of memorized word for word stuff to respond to or guide somebody, because they don't, when I walk on stage, the first thing I do, I have a scripted introduction. I think I sent you a copy of it.
Right.
A scripted introduction. And if it's done properly by whoever's introducing me, I get a roaring standing ovation. And as they sit down, I say, all right, let's get this Ben Gay thing out of the way, because they all are thinking about how funny my name is.
That's the thing I remember most about the first time I met you.
You know, let's get that out of the way.
More so now than ever, because when you started, it was a non-issue. Then all of a sudden, your name, if your name was Caitlyn Jenner, it wasn't an issue before. Now it's an issue. Now your name, Ben Gay's an issue.
Yeah, it wasn't an issue up to 1960. They spelled it differently, and you were supposed to pronounce it differently, Benjou, after the doctor who created it, a French doctor. But then when they changed, they couldn't get Americans to say Benjou. They were already saying Ben Gay, so they just changed the spelling in 1960 and ruined my life, I thought. It turned out it was the best thing ever happened to me. J. Douglas Edwards, in this book, Sales Closing Power, I wrote it for him after he died, but from his seminar material. He says, if you have a built-in objection, bring it up first and brag about it. So that's what I do with Ben Gay. But that's my opening Hal
the emotional
Holbrook
connection,
story.
the chemistry, the endorphins are released in the brain. It causes people to remember it and then to take action.
Absolutely. And based on their laughter at that point, guides me into what I bring up next.
Sales resistance falls like this, right?
Right. Exactly.
And then that's when you hit them with a right and left hook.
So any story you've ever heard me say on stage, if I told that story last week up at Lake Tahoe at another seminar, it was word for word. Yeah. Now it may be that I didn't use that story. I used a different story, but whatever story I used, word for word, because I've studied.
I like the way you and Zig say, you might as well just give me your wallet now because it's over. And I think when you get the crowd laughing, that's they already subconsciously made the decision. They're buying. I mean, you don't sell 5 million books by accident. I tell people you don't go bestseller on the New York Times or on Amazon or on the Wall Street Journal by accident. It's a mathematical algorithm. I can look at your book. I can look at your marketing strategy. Ben, I know you can do it. I can do it. We can tell them whether or not they're going to go number one. We take all the guesswork out of it. It is not a theory. It's not a hypothesis. It's a matter of fact and process. If you do the work, you'll succeed. If you don't, it's not going to happen. There's a tipping point there, and we're going to help you hit that magic number. Ben, I want to thank you. We're going to definitely have to have you back on the Influencer Radio Show because your story is so phenomenal, what you and Gigi have done. I've got a lot more questions I want to ask you. We're just out of time. There's a link to your bio. There's a link to your websites. They're in the description. I want people to follow you. What's a closing thought that you want to give people to succeed in 2018 with some of your golden nuggets, Ben?
Get serious. Success is not an accident. There's a method. I forget who it was, Doug Edwards or Tom Hopkins. Somebody said success leaves clues. Everything you need to know has been written down. Earl Nightingale used to say that prior to the computer. He said, Ben, everything you need. I'd say, I wish I knew that. Everything you need to know has been written down, is in a book in the library. Well, now it's in your pocket on a cell phone or whatever. You know, Gigi and I had a little minor not argument, but disagreement about something the other night at dinner, and I saw her reach into her purse. I thought, tap, tap, tap. She was right. Argument over. So it's all there, but you have to have the discipline. You know, Dr. Napoleon Hill said it. James Allen said it's in the Bible. You become what you think about. Well, you become what you think about with action. You know, a lot of people are sitting around thinking about a lot of stuff, but you got to take action. And that's what I would encourage you to do. Get serious about your career, lay out goals, make them daily, not yearly. Yearly doesn't work. Make them daily goals, and then figure out the most effective way to present your idea, whether it's in writing, by voice, face-to-face, whatever. The most effective way to do it, to present it, every concept, every part of your package, and then stick to it. It's like the Wall Street Journal
thank you
letter.
for being with us. The book's called The Closers. He sold over 5 million. We're going to have him back, guys. Make 2018 your best year ever right here on Influencer Radio. We're going to do it with you. Ben Gay, thank you so much. Have a great year, my friend.
Thank you.